If you've been watching all of Electrifying's videos recently, and if not, why not? But if you have, then you'll know that I recently got up close and personal with the new Kia Niro EV. And that got me thinking, because when you get a new version of a car, there are normally some good deals to be had on the outgoing model. But before I get into all that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and switch your notifications on so you know when our latest videos have landed. And if you're an e-Niro driver, then do let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Now, the first thing to remember is that not all Niros are equal. This car is also available as a plug-in hybrid and a mild hybrid. You can spot the all-electric version by this distinctive smoothed-off grille. So looks aside, this current version is still a 5-seat, mid-size, kind of SUV-like car with all the practicalities you could wish for. Inside, there's plenty of space for up to 5 adults with excellent headroom and a really good size boot. Now, the new one is slightly more roomy inside, but having sat in both, I don't reckon there's much in it. Now, the new model, of course, has a much fresher interior, but this 10.25-inch screen setup that you find in here does work pretty well. Be aware, though, that you only get an 8-inch screen on the lower spec versions, and I just don't think it looks quite as nice. Look, of course, it isn't all as slick as the newer version, which is more like the one that you'll find in Kia's latest electric car, the EV6. But you know, it does all work absolutely fine. It's intuitive, easy to use, functional. It's just that the tech is starting to look a little bit old-fashioned and slightly clunky. What I do like, though, is the fact that you get a whole host of buttons, which compared to modern rivals that cram everything into touchscreens, may seem a bit old-fashioned, but I just like the fact that you don't need to go prodding around, looking in the manual to be able to just turn the heated rear windscreen off or put the climate control on. And another thing I really like is this simple EV button, which when you press it just brings up everything you need to know about charging, your charge management, range. It's just very simple and easy to use. I'm not as big a fan of some of the plastics in here, which do feel a bit cost conscious in places, nor am I a massive fan of the silver painted plastic here. But you know, overall, I still think this is an interior that's comfortable, well put together and stands the test of time. The good news is that nothing really seems to have been a problem with e-Niros as far as the interiors go. Some people have had issues with the voice recognition systems, but Kia seems to have solved that. Solid is how I describe it, like a pair of favourite comfortable shoes. So when it comes to used e-Niros, it really pays to be aware of the versions that were on sale, so you know what you're getting and also what to pay. Base model is the e-Niro 2, and that's possibly the one you've got to be aware of, because one version of the 2 came with a smaller battery of 39 kilowatt hours. Now that's no problem if the 180-mile claimed range and a less powerful motor suits you, but it's not the headline figure of 282 miles that the rest of the range gets with the 64 kilowatt hour battery. You'll find that those smaller battered versions will be the cheapest second-hand e-Niros that you'll find. Next is the e-Niro 2 64 kilowatt hour, which is the same spec just with a bigger battery, and that will obviously command a premium compared to the smaller battery. Now, both of these cars get an 8-inch touchscreen, as I mentioned earlier, along with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They also get a reversing camera, parking sensors, a 17-inch alloy wheels and a few other bits and pieces, so they're definitely not basic. Then there is, you guessed it, the e-Niro 3 and 4 Plus. They both have the big battery, and gradually, of course, you get more toys and extras. So the 3 gets black leather upholstery, it gets heated seats, wireless phone charger, and a bigger, better looking touchscreen. The 4 Plus gets, well, basically everything. So all the things you get on the 3, but with even more advanced driver assistance systems, and also a heat pump fitted as standard, which gives you greater efficiency in cold weather and is something that we really like electric cars to have. When they were new, these cars ran from just under £33,000 for the smaller batteried e-Niro 2 to just under 40 for the larger 4 Plus model. Now that's obviously quite a big difference, and we'd probably recommend that you go for the mid-range 3. It offers a great compromise between the kit that you get and the cost. But once you've chosen the right model for your budget, you'll find that they all drive pretty much the same. So the smaller battery eNiro 2 does come with a less powerful motor, but you know, it's really not slow. In fact, the 64 I think might actually be a little bit too fast for this kind of car. And they're all actually faster than the new version. The new Niro EV gets to 62 miles per hour in 7.8 seconds. One like this manages it in 7.5 seconds. Look, I know there's not much in it. You're not really going to notice it. But one thing you will notice in the new version is that it's been softened. It's just a more comfortable drive, which I'm looking forward to trying because the ride on this one isn't that impressive. Older eNiros with that bigger battery all have 201 brake horsepower. And whilst that's just a jumble of numbers to some people, what it translates to in the real world is a car that's actually surprisingly perky to drive. You've got more than enough power for keeping up with traffic, overtaking. You've got 3 different modes that you access just down here. You've got Eco, Normal and Sport. Oh, there it goes, just into Eco, which is what I tend to leave it in, to be honest, because I like to eke out my battery power, and my girl racer days are behind me. No, they're not, of course they're not. Look, here on the steering wheel, you'll also find one of my favourite Kia features is little paddles that control the regenerative braking. So you pull this one on the left when you want to slow down, and it automatically increases the regen, and then this one on the right when you want to decrease it. It's a really simple system to use, and you will use it as well, mainly because it really feels like you're getting the most out of every last bit of energy. This version of the eNiro comes with a peak charging rate of 77 kilowatts, which means that you'll get from 10 to 80% in around 45 minutes on an appropriate charger from the charging point here on the left-hand side of the nose. The new version charges at a slightly lower speed at 72 kilowatts. However, the new one does hold that peak rate for much longer and will charge quicker overall, so we'll just gloss over that for now. Now, that 77 kilowatt was once seen as really impressive, but really it's only so-so now. Rivals like the Citroën EC4 and the VW ID3 will beat it at the charger. So a complete charge, if you're charging at home, will take around 9 hours on a home wall box. And you know, even though the eNiro no longer leads the pack when it comes to charging speeds, it does still manage to be practical enough for long journeys, particularly because the range is still very competitive and it's also very efficient. It scored an excellent A in the Electrifying Efficiency Awards. And if you're after more detail about the driving impressions and the car in general, then do check out our full Kia eNiro review, which is right here on the channel. As far as issues go, well, there really aren't many that we're aware of. Some owners complained of eNiro stopping charging randomly in the early days, but that does appear to have been sorted. And there was a mild update in 2020 that added LED headlights, along with some small interior changes, but nothing too major. And the hardware did remain the same. Now, if something does go wrong, it's really worth mentioning Kia's class-leading 7-year warranty. Now, a decent warranty is always welcome, but the beauty of Kia's is it can be passed from owner to owner. So a 3-year-old car will still come with some years left on the manufacturer's promise. It's worth noting, though, that some of the warranty promises do shorten when you sell the car, so do read the fine print. Nothing in life is quite as simple as it seems. One of the problems with the eNiro is that it is a really good car, which might sound a bit counterintuitive, but what that means is that it remains a really popular second-hand buy. With supply issues across the whole of the car industry, used prices are going through the roof, and the eNiro is no exception to that. So that means that there aren't many bargains to be had right now, and you might well find yourself competing with people running private taxi companies, for example. Which might sound bad, but if you think about it, taxis are generally the most reliable, most practical versions of anything. If the taxi drivers are interested, then it's probably a safe bet. But just do be aware that if you pay too much, you might be better off ordering the new version anyway. So as always, do make sure that you really do your sums. You know what? Having spent some time with the new version and time again with this one, I think I might prefer this one. I'm still not sure about those side blades on the incoming car, although I will reserve judgment until we drive it, which is going to be very soon. I think what you've got to remember here is that what made the eNiro so desirable in the first place hasn't just suddenly evaporated because a new one is on the horizon. This is still an absolutely rock solid choice that does everything brilliantly, apart from being exciting to look at, but I do forgive it that. So is it worth waiting for a new Niro? Or is it worth going for this one? Well, make sure you subscribe to the channel and switch those notifications on so you know when that video has landed, because it will help you make the decision. Oh, and while you're here, take a look at our preview video of that, because that might give you a few hints too.